Good evening. You're going to watch me do something that I do frequently, and that is practice. Yeah, so this has the potential to be a boring video for you, and I'm going to do my best to make it something that's kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe it might be of some value to you. So, I am going to practice my own tune as you're watching. Now, I wrote this tune and I performed it on my senior recital in college, but I am recording a new version of it. And the chord changes I wrote are very tricky. And when I say tricky, I mean they're things like, let's see, what is it? E flat major 7 sharp 5 over A flat. Now, the reason these chords are really confusing is because they are I wrote the voicings, like the actual notes for the piano part out, and they're just chords, and they weren't really based on any kind of harmony or theory based other than they just sounded good next to each other, like in a row. So you have kind of weird voicings, and I did my best to apply, a normal chord um, a normal chord symbol to them. So there's some chords in here that are particularly tricky, and I am trying my best to wrap my mind around them and like really, really play them well. So here we go. So let's see. I'm trying to just like kind of gain some fluidity on some of these transitions I have. I have this little vamp at the end of each section. It's an E flat 6 chord, and then it goes to an A flat minor 7, and then on this part of the tune it goes to a B7 over F. So it's kind of like a dominant, but like you can use the diminished scale if you wanted. Um, and then it goes to B major 7 flat 5 over F sharp to E major 7 over E major 7 flat 5 over G sharp. So I'm just going to work on those 4 bars for now, and I'm just going to play them slowly. Also, this is in 5. This is written in 5/4. So I'm I'm going to do something here that a friend of mine showed me when I was in college, and he said play the chords as long as you need to. Play them rubato if you want. Just really get the color and just sink into each chord before you put a tempo on it. So I'm just going to kind of fiddle around and work on these 4 bars here. So the first 2 bars are fairly easy. E flat 6 to an A flat minor 7. That's a pretty doable chord progression, but the rest is a little trickier. So I'm going to kind of hover on each one for a little while. So now that was just me playing on the 3rd chord that I mentioned. And I am going to kind of mess with it a little bit more and maybe even get into some diminished and see how that sounds to me instead. Even before I got to the diminished, I settled on the melodic minor scale, and I think that sounds really nice there. So I am actually playing. It's a B7 over F, and I think the altered scale sounds really really nice. So I'd be playing an F. Um, um, yeah, an F altered scale. But I could also do diminished. So let's try that. Okay, so I practiced a couple options on this particular chord. Now I'm going to look at the last two chords that I mentioned before. So we have a B major 7 flat 5 over F sharp. So I don't have to think about that in any weird way. It's just a B major 7 flat 5 over its fifth. Actually, it's kind of not true. It might make more sense to write that as a B major 7 sharp 11 over its fifth, because when in the chord symbol you see a flat 5, that kind of represents that the 5 is altered, or like the 5 is changed or lowered by a half step, as opposed to the 11th scale degree being raised. So it's a syntax error there. Anyway, so this is the B major 7 sharp 11, or just B Lydian really. And now the next chord here is an E major 7 flat 5 over its third, G sharp. So these two chords back to back, I kind of like it because the major 7 the major 7 sharp 11, or the Lydian sound, it's a B major 7 and then it goes to an E major 7. So it's getting brighter, moving. Actually, no. It's getting darker. So it's getting darker, and the root motion is going up in whole steps. So you have it's getting brighter in that way, and it's getting darker in the other way. So let's look at this other chord change, and then we're going to put it all together. Okay. Okay, so just for reference, the next chord, the resolution to the double bar line in the next section of the tune, is to another B major 7 chord. So this is our root motion, and I'll count this out in 5. 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. Okay, I don't know if that is of value to you, but I'm going to play through these 4 bars a couple times and maybe see if I can weave together some more interesting lines. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna go back to doing the rubato thing so I can really emphasize the chord qualities So I'm going to play more scalarly, and maybe you'll hear some of the nuances of these different things. Here we go. So I'm thinking I'll play it through twice with just doing rapid scales up and down. But on the B7 over F, you'll hear me do diminished one time and melodic minor in another time. So here we go. Okay, so these kind of have similar. Actually, the last four of the five chords I played are kind of in the same ballpark. So they have a lot of similar notes. So I could actually get away with playing something like this for the whole entire thing. So on the E flat, I'm gonna play a major third there, starting from the root E flat to the G, and then I'm gonna make that minor, and those two notes will carry over for the whole progression. Even something like that. So when you're practicing difficult chord changes, it's important to know what carries through and what notes you can play throughout the whole entire phrase without needing any alterations, or the notes that are specifically different. So by knowing both sides, you can choose how you want to play through the chord changes. Because, on one chorus, you might want to do nothing but different and really, really emphasize the harmony. But when you know the notes that carry over, it can be really easy to carve a melody out of simpler ideas that carry through. Hi Morgan, thanks for tuning in. If you didn't catch the beginning of this video, I am talking about the chord changes to one of my tunes, and I figure I might as well, since you might get some value out of this, I might as well post the chord changes here. And let's see, you'll see them in concert pitch. Let's go back over to my screen here, and let's see, is this gonna do anything? Bear with me, bear with me. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to that, and maybe I can I don't know if that's a value to you, but I am right here on this measure here, or on these four measures. So now I'm going to continue on. Now this is a little tricky for me. So this bar right here is kind of tricky here. So you have a G7 add 9 over B, and then you have an F minor 9 flat 13. So that's kind of like the Aeolian mode. That can also be expressed as a D flat major 7 flat 5 over F. So I don't know if that makes sense to you. This is pretty straightforward. So you have excuse me. pretty straightforward sound. And then we have. I heard you, Morgan. Let me see if I can zoom in here. I'm not quite sure how to go about doing that. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. Okay, let's see if this works. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna help. Sorry, I don't know. I'm not super good on the zooming aspect of this program here. I wish I could give you a better. You know what? Actually, never mind. I just realized I can zoom in my program here. So here we go. I'm looking at this bar right here. And pardon the funny accidentals. You know, we have the F flat here. I just transposed the part back to concert pitch in Sibelius. So I had written all the chord symbols so that they were best or easiest read in tenor key. So sorry, my mic was off there. My mic is back. Thanks, Morgan. Anyway, so here we go. So I'm looking at the G7 add 9 over B and the F minor 9 flat 13. So I'm going to go back and forth between those two chords. Now the cool thing about these two chords is that when I wrote this, I wrote it with a particular voicing in mind, and that was, let's see. So I had so I had stacked fourths like that. I did. And then what I did was, and then I moved it to, gosh, let me look at the piano part right here. Pardon me. Thanks for being patient with me as I struggle through my own music here. You know, especially when I was in college, I had this tendency to write music for the sake of being hard. So here we go. I'm looking at this measure right here. I don't know if hopefully you can see that. This measure here. So I have F, D, A, G. And notice when I switch to the next chord here, the top and bottom notes the top and bottom notes stay constant and the internal notes move. Also, I realize in this measure, especially with these chord changes written here, I can actually get away with playing a D minor triad in this measure here, and then playing a D flat major triad here. So over those chords, it would sound something like this. So you can find all sorts of different ways of approaching a particular measure of music just by the way that you break it down. I'm going to switch back over to my normal camera here so you can see my face. There we go. So now I really hope that this was of value to you. It certainly was for me, because I'm chipping away at this tune, trying to figure out how it works. And there are lots of these little goodies in there that I haven't really had the patience to uncover, because there's just so much information here. It's like, how do I even scratch the surface? All the while, or how do I even begin to work on a tune like this? So I guess it starts off by playing through it a bunch and finding where your difficulties are, and then breaking down those measures until you feel like you have at least some kind of grasp on it. And I know that in 10 years I'll probably be able to play this tune better than I can now. And that's just a function of me getting better and progressing over time. But the act of me practicing this tune is what's going to get me better at playing music. So this is the challenge. And please stay tuned, because I will be releasing this as a single in a short order. I don't know if that's going to be a couple weeks or a month. I still have some more recording of parts to do, but stay tuned. Also, if you haven't checked out my newest single, it's called Rejoice, and it's available on all streaming platforms, and you can find it under Brandon Wilkins. Now, there is another Brandon Wilkins out there, but it's not me. I wrote a song called Rejoice, and it's simply about choosing which reality you would like to move into. Now, in this day and age, there is lots of chaos, and it is up to us as individuals to choose the reality that we want, because whatever we put out into the universe is what we get back. You get what you put in, and I even did a video on that, and it was related to music, but it's true in life too. You get what you put in. So this song is about choosing to walk a path of a brighter, more loving, more compassionate world. So with that being said, if you got any value out of this video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you got something out of this. If not, please let me know if there is another topic you might like me to discuss, or if you just have any comments on this video in general, any questions for me. Share, subscribe, like, notification bell, do all that fun stuff. And with that, I wish you well and happy practicing. Thanks for tuning in.